Lights, camera, action, ladies and gentlemen. Simply Megan here. I am excited to be bringing you this video on mindfulness and improving your relationship with others. Yes! So I don't really think there's a human being that was born into this world not craving and wanting an authentic, genuine, emotional connection with another person. And I think it's safe to say that most people still want that. There's a lot of abuses and traumas that we go through as humanity, whether it came from our direct family, whether it came from extended family, whether it came from someone in the community. No matter what the circumstances, what the situation is, I think it's safe to say that it can't be boxed or categorized by religion, color, all these boxes that we attempt to put on ourselves. Humanity as a whole definitely has to deal with the consequences of trauma and abuse at the hands of other people, and that's something that we all have in common. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. And at the end of the day, this trauma and this abuse causes long-term damage to our collective psyche. It also plays a really big part in our ability to be mindful and notice ourselves. And the thing is, a lot of it's cultural, a lot of it is, traditional, familial, historical things that have become considered norms. Just because something is normal and it's been being done for a long time does not mean that it's right or that it's not harmful. Neither is it an excuse for us to ignore it and not observe it and not take a look at cause and effect to see if this is actually something that's still an effective practice for us to be doing as humans. So being mindful, when I talk about it, really talks about being mindful of your inner voice, the inner script that's going on in your head. There's definitely circumstances where you may notice it more. I definitely notice it during my Bikram hot yoga classes. I notice my thoughts and I pay attention to the things that I say in my head. If you can tune into yourself throughout the day, you can tune into that as well. It's your inner voice, it's the guidance that you hear. Now, the thing with that inner voice is that it's not always saying great things. It's not always saying healthy, positive things. You definitely don't have to believe everything you think. So mindfulness comes into play when we're dealing with situations that are confrontational, painful, stressful. Anything less than peaceful is an opportunity for us to stop and try to observe our inner script, our inner dialogue that's happening, that is in turn feeding our heart rate and making our heart go up and making us breathe more shallow, and basically what we would consider as getting upset. Now, some people go and have panic attacks. Some people it affects differently, but basically the physiological process is still the same. You are perceiving a threat to your peace and you're having a flight or fight response. And in that response, your body is having certain reactions. So your breath is a great tool that you have to keep yourself centered and grounded, and to not have that response is to simply take 14 seconds, take a breath in for 7 seconds, take a breath out for 7 seconds. Once we do start to take the opportunity to be mindful of ourselves more and more and more, it's such a trickle effect, because then we can start to be mindful of other people more and more and more. So I wanted to do this video to talk about the steps that we can go through to try and be more mindful of ourselves. And in turn, that mindfulness of ourselves will definitely help us to improve our relationships, to identify which relationships are toxic, which relationships need to be let go of, which relationships are healthy, which relationships have the opportunity to grow. See, once you start to get more in tune and in touch with your own needs and being mindful of what you really need and want out of a dynamic or a person or yourself, you can then effectively take action and or put boundaries in place that are conducive to whatever goal you have in mind. And that cliche statement, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else, it's cliche and it's kind of corny, but it's actually really super true. So I'm looking forward to sharing more about my experience with that on my channel as well. So I would say whenever you notice yourself get upset, the first thing to do would be to just pause and notice your breath. Notice what your breath is doing. Are you holding it? I actually notice a lot when I'm in a situation, whether it's an email I'm reading with something I don't want to see, whether it's, whatever the stimuli is, whether it's a bill that's higher than I thought, and I'm like, oh. When I take time to notice, I can notice that my breathing has been altered. I notice that my breathing has been altered. So the first step would be to pause and notice, and then next step is to go ahead and take control over that breath, because that breath then trickles out to every other area. So breathing in for 7 seconds. Breathing out for 7 seconds. And now the proper way to do this would be to, when you breathe in, let your belly open up and expand with air all the way until, like, imagine like an accordion from your belly to your ribs to your shoulders, everything opening up. And then when you breathe out, contract your tummy, belly, and then shoulders, ribs, whatever. So anyways, yes. Slowing down your heart rate helps to regulate your blood flow, which in turn helps to regulate your stress hormones that are being released in your body, helps to regulate your brain, helps for you to just basically grab control of your response to a situation. Because remember, we don't have control over any situation. Really, at the end of the day, the only thing we have control over is ourselves. Check out my other video on how Bikram saved my life as well. Yes, because Bikram definitely ties into this whole breathing and noticing and really using breath, because again, breath is not just for survival, breath is healing. You can heal yourself and your body through taking in oxygenated blood through your deep breathing practice. Yes. So once you've gained control a little bit of yourself with your breath, you can actually observe your thoughts. What is the script that's playing in your head? What is it saying? Is it saying, oh my God, this person is an idiot. Oh, why? I wish this person would really hurry up. I need to be to work immediately. I cannot believe this. Just text me this. Are you kidding me right now? $300? $300 for what? What is the underlying message? Why do I always feel like this person's trying to put me down? Why do I always feel drained after I interact with this person? Why do I have so much anxiety around this person? Whatever your response is, be honest and observe what the underlying feeling or the core kind of trigger that's happening that's causing you to have this initial thought. Is it exasperation? Is it frustration? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it obligation? Really try to take time to identify the reason why you're upset about something. Do you have resentment for something that you didn't talk about, that you haven't expressed? Are you feeling obligated to, be there for a certain person that you don't feel very supported by? A lot of this starts to become really sticky when we start to talk about family, because there's a lot of obligation that we feel to our family. We feel that we need to be there for them, and no matter what, family stays together through thick and thin. Newsflash right here. If they are toxic, they should not be around you. If someone's toxicity outweighs the goodness that they have to offer to your life, they should be cut off immediately. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, and it is a very, controversial type of thing. But I strongly feel that way. I think that boundaries are crucial, they're critical. A lot of times we want our family to be, the ones that are the ride or die, they're going to be there no matter what. Sometimes the case is that family is the one who is hurting us the most and bringing us down the most. If someone is not honoring you, if someone is not respecting you, respecting your time, and even inversely, if you're not doing this with another person, this is toxic behavior. And it's toxic to behave that way for yourself, and it's also toxic for anyone that you come into contact with as well. Instead of being, having road rage and being upset about the person who cut you off or the person who did this and that in traffic, maybe it would be a good idea for you to leave earlier, take responsibility for the only factor that you have to control, which is yourself on the road, and give yourself plenty and ample time to get where you need to be, accepting and knowing that you cannot change anyone but yourself. A lot of us tend to let our egos get in the way. We want to be right. We want to be, we want to have the one up. We want to be first. We want to be the freshest, the dopest, the illest, but a lot of times ego can really block a lot of opportunities and a lot of blessings from feeling that you've already arrived in a certain place. There should be a level of humility where you understand it and still be open to the opportunities for learning. And that goes for any arena, any area of life. Sorry, I went off on another tangent. So once you've taken the time to sit and observe what your root feeling is and actually had some dialogue with yourself about the real root of how you're feeling, you can then, number one, think about the other person involved in the interaction and really have an honor and respect them enough to accept them for who they are. If they have showed you that they can be depended on, that they can be trusted, that, they can do this, then do that. Depend on them, trust them, give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't nitpick, don't nag, don't create an issue where there is none. If someone has showed and proven to you that they cannot be depended on, they cannot be counted on, they cannot be trusted, the same thing applies. You accept them for that, especially if it's someone that you have to have a dealing with because there may be a family tie. If it's people who are just associates in your life or friends in your life, unfortunately, sometimes loyalty has a lot of us in positions, so-called fake loyalty has a lot of us in positions where we feel like we have to continue to exchange energy or interact or be friends or, be in situations and dynamics with people because we've known them for a long time. And the problem with that is that people change and people grow. And sometimes people have a lot of toxic behaviors that can't be trumped by the length of time that you've known them. They're still toxic. And you have to be honest enough with yourself to look at that and say, you know what, this is what I want because I have been mindful of myself. This is what I want for myself, and this is, the boundary that I'm putting up or the opportunity that I'm opening up for people to either step up to that or frankly, get out of the way immediately. The other thing that's really important is whatever the message or the root feeling is, instead of letting your ego make it about something else, get to that root and find a way to convey that message to whom you're communicating with in a way that once you have taken into account who they are and accepted that, you can be mindful enough to come up with a creative way to communicate with them in such a way that they will be able to understand or really grasp the message that you're trying to convey to them. Because a lot of times we're trying to convey one thing, but the words that are coming out of our mouth or the way that we're perceived by another person takes away from that. It completely convolutes it. They don't hear what we're saying. They don't feel like that. You may have made them feel bad. You may have made them feel low about themselves. So just really being mindful of the state of the person that you're in, along with the message that you're trying to convey. Make sure it's lining up with the things that you're doing and the things that you're saying. You definitely have to be willing to look at your role in a situation. And that's not to say that the other person's always right and you're always wrong. However, when you're getting upset, it's super critical to look at what role you played in it. Whether it was not accepting someone for who they were, not putting up strong enough boundaries, not leaving early enough in the morning, not gaining control over your breath, not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning when you knew you had to get up and go to a 6 o'clock yoga class. Who's done that? I've done that. And I still went. But anyways, beyond that, seriously, I mean, it's really about making choices and really about being mindful of the cause and effect of your choices. And when you're looking at taking your role in a dynamic, even if it seems really cut and dry, oh my God, this person was so horrible to me, they did this, they did that, they did that. If someone were to say that to me, and I've actually had quite a few people come to me recently and talk about how badly they were treated and this and that, and I'll be honest, that was a script for me as well before in my life. This person is, this person ain't shit, this person ain't that, this, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is you have to take a look at yourself, your role, which is why were you allowing yourself to be treated this way? Once a person shows you who they are and it's toxic and it's damaging, You have a choice whether or not to continue to exchange energy with that person. If you are deciding to still do that, there are some issues within you that still need to be looked at and understood as to why you're seeking outside validation from this type of source that clearly has no regard for your overall well-being. And again, this is why I love hot yoga, because it's such a metaphor to be able to practice these steps, to be able to pause, stay focused on myself, which is the most important thing. And that's the other thing. A lot of us like to get caught up in, oh, this person, this. Worry about yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on what you're doing. Do you have goals? Are you trying to reach them? What do you want for yourself? Instead of making everything about the other person and what the other person is or isn't doing, or who the other person is or isn't, whatever the case is, life becomes a lot more fulfilling, and so many more opportunities begin to open up when you put the focus and the work and the energy into your own self. And spirituality is definitely can be a big part of that. From my perspective, this expands beyond all spirituality. There are plenty of tools that we all have at our disposal to be able to use. The first one is free. It's simple, maybe not easy, but it's definitely your breath. Taking time to take a nice deep breath. Not only does it calm you down, it's cleansing. It helps you refocus. It helps you recenter. I personally use astrology. I know some people use spirituality. There's tons of different creative outlets that you can use, but I think there are definitely some kind of common denominator things that happy and peaceful, and I'm not talking about having money. And I'm not talking about, when I say success, I'm not talking about having money. I'm not talking about having fancy things. I'm not talking about being famous. I'm not talking about, success is not that to me. Success for me, first and foremost, is my peace of mind. Is me being able to have enough control of my thoughts and my words and my actions so that they all come together to be able to manifest the best version of myself. And so that I am able to continue to manifest the things that I want by using my tools, which are my breath, my words, my mind. We need that. Could you imagine this world if people were not able, if no one was able to be in touch with emotions? Like, really? Who wants that? I don't want that. I really don't want that. Like, I need my emotions, honey.